What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy TTG, and today we're doing something a little different again. I know yesterday I dropped my playoff bracket prediction. We will be making a change to that playoff bracket, and but right now we're gonna react to the new polls, the new college football playoff rankings that released last night. I do have a few problems with it, but for the most part, it went about how I thought it would. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like the video. It's free. Make sure to click the bell notification to get notified when I post. And again, if we can hit 1,000 subscribers by January 1st, I'm doing a jersey giveaway to one of my subscribers. Obviously, you'll get to pick what team you want, and I'll send the jersey to your doorstep. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into reacting to these rankings. Our new rankings dropped. Memphis, after upset at Tulane, is now moving into the top 25. Almost zero chance to make the playoff. I'm pretty sure actually zero chance, because UNLV or Boise is going to be that group of 5 team, G5 team, highest ranked Power 5 or conference champion. Army, same deal. Zero chance to get into the playoff. Great season though, 10-1. Colorado, let me just brag on Dion here. I think I predicted them to go 6-6 this year, or maybe even worse than that. I can't really remember, but what a turnaround, man. 9-3 on the year. 9-3 on the year, and probably, if you ask some of their fans, probably think they should have been 10-2 or maybe even better than that. Syracuse, Fran Brown is one of the great up-and-coming coaches. I'm not hearing his name tossed around as much as I should for big-time coaching jobs. I think this guy is going to be one of the guys that are next up in coaching. It's the guy that I would look, let's say Billy Napier has a bad year next year and he ends up getting canned at Florida. That's the guy I would 100% certainly consider for the Florida job. Illinois, I think their coach is Brett Bielema. Another good year. I mean, a good year for Brett Bielema in the Fighting Illini. I saw him and Lane Kiffin kind of going at it on Twitter. Pretty funny. Brett Bielema did make a good point, but Illinois 21. No chance of getting into the college football playoff, but 9-3, nothing to hang your head about. UNLV, still a chance to make the college football playoff. If they were to upset Boise, I think they play Friday. If they were to upset Boise, then I believe that would leave them as probably the 12th seed. That would be the lowest ranked, well, actually the 5th highest rated conference champion. So that would put them at the 12th seed, I believe. Missouri, solid season. What are they, 7-0 at home? I thought that was like in conference. I was like, there's no way. Missouri, a solid season. I think this is Brady Cook's last year, but Drinkwitz has done a pretty good job at Missouri. I don't think there's any question about that. The hiring of the offensive coordinator, I think, is a big reason why he's had so much success. Hopefully Billy Napier learns something and hires an offensive coordinator this offseason. BYU, pretty good season. I think they started off like 7 or 8-0, something crazy. Ended up fumbling a little bit. They didn't even make the conference, the Big 12 title game. They were out of the college football playoff. 17 is where it starts getting interesting here, folks. Clemson's still very much alive if they win the ACC. I think if Boise wins and Clemson wins, then I think Clemson would end up being the 12th seed, because either 16 or 15 is going to win the Big 12. And I don't see a reason why Clemson would jump either one of these teams. Now, it could happen now that I'm looking at it. Clemson would be beating, according to the playoff, and number 18 in the country, whereas 15 and 16, I mean, they're beating each other, so maybe a little bit better quality win, but they do have 3 losses, so I would probably keep them below Arizona State or Iowa State, whoever won this game. So, Iowa State still very much alive. Could win the Big 12, get in. Could be anywhere from the 4 seed to the 12 seed, in my opinion. Just depends on where the committee puts Clemson, or if Clemson wins, where they put them, right? I almost said Iowa State again. Arizona State, same deal. Very much alive. Could win the Big 12. Depending on if Clemson or SMU wins, they could be anywhere from the 4 seed, in my opinion, to the 12 seed. All right. 14, South Carolina, kind of disappointing. They are pretty much out of it. Not pretty much, they are out of it, in my opinion. Great year for Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks, but fall a little bit short. A lot of people are going to tell you that South Carolina should be ranked ahead of Alabama. I don't agree. They played, albeit I think it was at Alabama. I'm not sure actually. They played on the field this year. Alabama won. Plain and simple. The games, in my opinion, the games on the field have to matter. Head to head has to matter. Now, who looks better recently? 100% South Carolina. I get that argument, but they did play on the field. I'll have to go with Alabama. They also lost to Ole Miss, who comes in at number 13, which I could hear an argument for maybe Ole Miss being ahead of Bama. I've seen some arguments. Some of them make sense. Some of them don't. But Ole Miss is also essentially out. I mean, I don't see a way they get in unless during a week where neither team plays, they end up jumping Miami and Bama. I just don't see it. Miami, tough. I could definitely hear an argument for Miami being over Alabama. I think Alabama played the tougher schedule for sure. Miami does have one less loss. Both their losses are to decent teams. I think they lost to Georgia Tech, who did take Georgia to the wire and has played well lately. Ever since the Miami game, really, they've played well. And they also lost to Syracuse, who is also a top 25 team we've seen down here. So I could hear an argument for Ole Miss and Miami above Alabama. I won't listen to it for South Carolina simply because they played head-to-head on the field. And South Carolina also lost to Ole Miss. Now, if we are looking at straight resumes, then maybe South Carolina, and definitely what have you done for me lately, I would probably pick South Carolina over Alabama. And I understand that argument, but I just think the head-to-head has to matter. Miami, great season under Mario Cristobal. I'll be interested to see. I think they're out. I mean, I think it's pretty clear they're out because two teams, or at least one team, is going to jump them and get that 12 seed because either Arizona State or Iowa State is going to win Saturday, and they're going to be a conference champ. So Miami, great season. I'll be interested to see, like I said, where they go next year. Do they hit the portal for another quarterback? Do they have somebody I don't know about on roster that can get it done? It'll be interesting to see. They remind me a lot of Florida State last year, although Florida State was, 12 or 13-0 and didn't make the playoff. Miami, a great season, doesn't make the playoff, but they also, I feel like, heavily relied on the portal. We'll see what Cristobal can do. They got big bags down there, and Cristobal's not a bad coach. Kind of fumbled the Syracuse game, but Syracuse is a good team. Alabama, it needs to be rooting for SMU on Saturday. If SMU wins, I believe Alabama's in. Simple as that. Do I like a 3-loss team getting into the playoff? Not really, because you play the games during the season for a reason, and it seems like somebody with 3 losses, that takes away a little bit of the meaning for the regular season games, in my opinion. 10, Boise State. I like where they're at. They haven't played a strenuous schedule. That's why they're the lowest out of the 1-loss teams. But their only loss was I think it was a 3-point loss to Oregon. So really good loss. I'm not sure they have a signature win, though. Maybe, I think they did beat UNLV, who's a good team, earlier in the year. Now they get to play them again. So, yeah, I like where they're at. Indiana, 9. I like where they're at. In the playoff, pretty solidly. I don't see a world in where Miami, Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Alabama jumps them during a down week. So, I think they're in. SMU, I think they're in no matter what. If what the committee said is true, they're in no matter what. The committee said they weren't going to punish teams for playing in conference championship games. We'll see if they hold true to that. Coming in at 8, if they were to lose to Clemson, like get blown out or something, is the committee going to drop them out? I think it's possible. But the committee did say they weren't doing that. So for right now, I'm going to assume they're in. This is where it got me. This is where I'm going to have to change my bracket in a minute. I thought they would have Tennessee ranked ahead of Ohio State. I have no problem with Ohio State being ranked higher. I think Ohio State's the loss to Michigan was not a good one. Tennessee also has a loss to Arkansas, which was not a great win or a great loss. Ohio State does have a win over number 3 Penn State and number 9 Indiana. Tennessee, who do they have a win over? They have a win over number 11 Alabama, and I think that might be in the top 10. Do they play Missouri? I don't know. Maybe South Carolina. I can't remember if they played either. But teams have very similar resumes, in my opinion. Both 10-2. I have no problem with Ohio State being ranked ahead of Tennessee. But when I predicted, I had Tennessee ranked 1 ahead of Ohio State. So give me just a second, We are going to go full screen right here. You were going to see me make my change to my bracket. I still haven't I haven't backed down from who I think is going to win on conference championship week, but I have to change this because I don't see any way Tennessee jumps Ohio State during a down week. So I'm going to go Ohio State and Tennessee. All right. I spelled it right, but I guess I mistaked one of the S's for an E. So there we go. Let me put my top back on my marker. So there you have it. That's the only change I'm doing to my bracket. Unfortunately, Notre Dame is going to be, it looks like Notre Dame, unless something changes, is going to be a top 4 seed or a top 4 team and not going to get that first round bye because they don't play in a conference. So there you have that. All right. So again, we're moving on to number 6. No problem with Ohio State being there. Where were that? They were 2, I think, and then lost to a pretty bad loss. They dropped to 6. I could have seen them dropping as low as maybe even 8 or 9, but it wouldn't have mattered to me, in my opinion. As far as my bracket goes, anyway. So 5 is Georgia. No problem with Georgia being here. I do think Georgia's better than Notre Dame, and I do think Georgia's better than Penn State. But they have lost 2 games, so I have no issue with them being 5. Notre Dame, 4. They're a one-loss team. They're ranked ahead of a lot of one-loss teams. And I'm not sure. I don't know that they're better than some of these one-loss teams. But Notre Dame does have a win at Texas A&M early in the year. Their loss is pretty bad, though, Northern Illinois. They did beat, Army and Air Force, maybe? Or Army and I don't remember who all they beat. They beat Army. They beat USC. Not a strong resume, but 4. This is where I assume they would be anyway, just based on what the committee's been doing. 3 Penn State. I don't think Penn State is like a world beater by any means. I think they're a solid team. I think Drew Aller is a capable quarterback. I think their defense is good. I think their run game is pretty good. It'll be interesting to see them play Oregon. I know the one game they had this year where they played a really good opponent was Ohio State, and they kept it close. So we'll see what happens. Would not surprise me now. That being said, I'm trying to downplay how good Penn State is. It would not surprise me if they beat Oregon because Oregon has looked lackluster in some weeks. But I think Oregon is top to bottom the better team with a better coach. James Franklin just seems to find a way to lose these big games. 2 Texas, no problem with this. Texas does, however, play kind of an easy schedule for an SEC team. I'm not going to sit here and be biased towards the SEC because I don't really care about the SEC. I'm a Florida Gator fan and a college football fan. I do not care about the SEC. Now, do I think the SEC is the best conference? It's got to be either them or the Big Ten, in my opinion. We're going to find out. In this playoff, there's going to be multiple Big Ten teams and multiple SEC teams, and they're going to meet. So we're going to get to find out, I think. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that top to bottom one conference is better than the other, but we'll know. We'll have a good idea of the top teams facing off against each other, which conference is more top heavy, at least anyway. Texas here is okay with me. I do think they're going to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now, Texas does have a run game that has seemed to found its leggings. So it would not surprise me if Texas was to win and knock Georgia down a couple spots. Now, they're not going to knock Georgia out the playoff, but Georgia could go down below. Maybe they might drop a spot to Ohio State. Would they fall below Tennessee? They beat Tennessee head-to-head. I don't know. It's hard to predict where the committee is going to put them. But I got Georgia beating Texas and being the number 2 overall seed. Because Penn State's going to – I've got Penn State losing to Oregon, right? So they're going to drop out. They're not going to be a top 4 seed. Georgia will be the second highest ranked conference champ. And then I've got Boise State being the 3rd ranked conference champ because SMU I have losing to Clemson. And then I have Arizona State beating Iowa State. And I think they stay ahead of Clemson, so they would be the 4 seed and so on. I got Clemson sneaking in at the 12 seed, being a conference champ. and then you can see where the rest of my bracket lies. Anyway, but yeah, that's my thought on the rankings. Feel free to roast me in the comments. Let me know what you think of my breakdown. It's not really a breakdown, just a reaction. But yeah. So that'll do it for the video. Again, my bracket's up here behind me. You got to see it for a few seconds. Let me know. I did a bracket video yesterday, and I told you guys during that bracket video that I may have to make a change or two when the rankings dropped last night. The rankings dropped. The only change I'm making is Ohio State and Tennessee. I'm flipping. Ohio State will get the 8 seed and host that playoff game, and Tennessee is going to be on the road, which is it's not a huge change as far as my bracket goes, but it is huge for those two teams, implications for those two teams. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the playoff rankings. Who would be the 11 seed or the number 11 team in your rankings? Would you bump Miami up? Would you bump Ole Miss up? Or South Carolina? I understand the arguments for South Carolina. I just think the games on the field have to matter, in my opinion. And they lost to Ole Miss and Alabama. So, with that being said, again, make sure you subscribe, guys. If I hit 1,000 subscribers before January 1st, we're doing a jersey giveaway. So tell your friends, get your friends to sub. That'll give you guys a better chance of winning. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Again, I already gave you something to comment. Who would be the 11 ranked team in your rankings? And yeah, make sure you click the bell notifications to get notified when I post. Conference championship week is upon us, guys. Who's it going to be? Who's going to make these playoffs? Who's going to win it all? Let's have a good week. Appreciate you guys.